Welcome to Sophie's patch. We open our garden to the public twice a year, in spring and in autumn, and there are times when the garden's looking good. But to keep it real, I thought I'd share what my garden looks like in late winter coming into spring. It's a bit of a weeds, warts and all tour of the property because I'm the gardener here, and while the kids give me a bit of help, basically I need to do the work. So we're going to take you behind the scenes and see what's happening around the property. Come join me. We've got a 3-acre property and about 2 acres of that is garden or orchard. Now I'm an organic gardener, so dealing with weeds at this time of year can be a big issue. Sometimes we just let the geese mow them, but when I've got weeds like this that grow on the side of the driveway, my solution is simply to come and hand weed them using a pick or a trowel. I don't tend to get weeds in the garden beds themselves because I have a thick layer of mulch, but elsewhere it's just roll your sleeves up and get into it. Another big job around here is giving the hedges a haircut. This is old man saltbush, a variety called Ayers Green, which we use not only as a windbreak, but it's also a fabulous insectary because it harbours so many beneficial bugs to help keep the pest bugs at bay. But at this time of year, it's looking very, very shaggy. So I will prune it really hard, but I'll probably wait another month because we find that if I prune it right before frosts come, the frosts are likely to affect the new growth. So I'll prune it probably in mid-September, really hard, and by the time the new growth comes, hopefully the risk of frost is over. But you can see it's a big job. Pity we haven't got any sheep to eat it. Over the last few weeks, signs of spring have started to appear and it's so exciting. So even though most deciduous trees are still bare, the early ones like the Pyrus Winter Glow, which is a beautiful ornamental pear, have started to bloom, and their blooms just take your breath away. At this time of year, there's not as many blooms. However, the ones that are there give you hope that spring's just around the corner. Yet despite the beautiful spring blooms, we've got evidence everywhere of how hard our frosts have been. Things like the burnt tips on these succulents and statice, and I can't do anything about that. I basically have to leave it here and wait till new growth appears and the risk of the last frosts are over. And here, the last frost can even be in early November. My elderberry hedge is just starting to leaf up, and by October it'll be flowering and we'll be making elderberry cordial. But like all properties, there's always problem areas, and this is one of my problem areas at the moment. It's really boggy here. Now this is Mount Barker Springs, and in a wet year we can actually have springs appear. So I haven't decided whether it's spring related or somehow there's a bit of a leak in a pipe somewhere. Whatever it is, I've got to get it sorted over the next couple of months. Elsewhere in the veggie patch, crops are growing really well. I've been pumping all sorts of winter brassicas out of this area, and I've got 2 other areas where I grow produce too. It's hard to imagine that by midsummer, these archways will be covered with my vertical veggies creating shade, because at the moment I'm loving every bit of winter sun I can get. It's still fairly bare in the orchard, but we're seeing the first signs of spring bloom, with blossoms appearing on some plum trees, apricots and peaches and nectarines. And the other exciting thing is my girls, my chooks and my geese and the ducks outside have all started to lay again. So we're loving all the eggs. There's not a lot of colour around, but there are enough flowers to keep the bees happy and the hoverflies also. Yet right in amongst this, we can see the evidence of what frost has done. This plant is an evergreen. It's called Iochroma. However, it gets hammered by the frost and loses all its leaves. The only reason it survives is it's got a precious little microclimate against the stone walls of my home. So that means it will come back over the next couple of months. And if any branches don't come back, I simply cut them off and the new growth will cover them really quickly. One of the challenges in living in a summer dry place where we have to have hardy, drought-tolerant lawns is that the lawn varieties that we use, whether they're softleaf buffalo like mine or couch or kikuyu, they all frost off and go brown over winter. So this is what we expect from our lawn in winter. Yet at this time of year, the paddock is green. Now by the time we get to November, the paddock will be brown and my lawn will be green. It's just the way it is. The list of jobs around here is endless. this pile of really coarse mulch has all got to be moved into the bottom end of the orchard where it's worn thin. And yet I actually want to top up this garden bed, after you, I want to top up this garden bed with a finer mulch. Now that I've pruned all the perennials back and you can see what you're doing, it's a great time to get mulch on. And I certainly need to get it on before summer arrives. I grow veggies around the citrus trees in my citrus grove. Over the warmer weather I had tomatillos, pumpkins and all sorts growing here. But over the cooler weather I've just got a couple of beds planted up. I've got leeks, red Welsh onions and some silver beet. The citrus are being protected by these shade cloth guards and they've been in about 2.5 years now. It gives them protection from the hot north winds, from the afternoon sun, and to some extent it gives them a little bit of protection from frost. But what I've decided is at the end of spring I'm actually going to remove these shade cloth guards because they're so unsightly and I can't wait to see this area once they're gone. These self-seeded edible chrysanthemums are almost taller than me. Well, you can use the flowers to make tea, or you can actually use the young tender growth in a stir fry. Personally, I don't like the taste of it, so I just let them self-seed with gay abandon around my garden purely for the benefit of the hoverflies and the bees that adore their daisy-like flowers. In any beds where I haven't got veggies growing, rather than let the soil sit idle, I've actually added a green manure crop. In this case, I had some vetch seeds lying around. And that way it's going to improve the soil and keep the weeds out, and by the time I'm ready to plant my warm season crops, the soil will be ready. While I love all of my garden, the bit that I'm most excited about at the moment is definitely this Polyhouse. We've built it with a dream of being able to grow winter tomatoes in our cold, frosty climate. And while we haven't got the opportunity to trial that this winter, hopefully by next winter we can. What I have been growing in here this winter though, with amazing results, is leafy greens. And it's absolutely extraordinary to get such lush growth over a really cold time of year. I've also been busy sowing seeds of my warm season crops. Everything from tomatoes and eggplants to my wonderful New Guinea beans. And when they germinate, I'll be able to pot them on and have slightly advanced plants to plant into the ground when the soil temperature gets warm enough. I can't look at planting any of these till the soil temperature gets to about 15-16 degrees and the risk of frost is over. And up here, that's usually late October, early November. I've got 11 wicking beds in here now, and while the back wall isn't quite finished, it will give me the opportunity to open it up on warm days and let some cooler air in. I hope you enjoyed the weeds, warts and all tour of Sophie's patch in August. Whatever the weather, whenever I can, you'll catch me in my garden. It's my therapy, it's my play, it's my everything, and it feeds us really well too. I hope you've got to enjoy some time in your garden. Happy gardening and take care.